believe Mr. Krikorian and Ms. Perry are both correct in their assertions.
All right. So, Mr. Clerk, to clear any confusion, what are we going to vote on right now?
You know, I believe Mr. Krikorian and Ms. Perry are both correct in their assertions.
All right. So why don't we vote on Ms. Perry's motion? So, Mr. Clerk, to clear any confusion, what are we going to vote on right now?
You know, I believe Mr. Krikorian and Ms. Perry are both correct in their assertions.
All right.
You know, I believe Mr. Krikorian and Ms. Perry are both correct in their assertions.
All right. Speaker, Mr. Clerk, we have some motions in the item before us.
Yes, sir. We have, there have been multiple motions to refer this matter back to committee. We also have a motion from Councilmember Alarcon, which would amend the language to make it read in a much more positive light in favor of the city. So it would appear that the first motion before you would be to refer the matter back to committee.
Okay, on that matter, refer back to committee. Colleagues, on referring back to the committee, yes or no? Yes or no? Open the roll.
Yes, yes, yes.
Close the roll. Tabulate the vote. We're voting.
To refer back to Rules and Elections Committee.
Ms. Hahn?
I believe if Mr. Alarcon has a motion that changes the language to make it more positive, does it have the same, then it seems to me that's what we should be voting on, because
There's different motions. We're going to vote on each of them. So we're going to vote on...
it might change people's view if they knew it was positive.
If this gets referred back, if it doesn't get referred back, then we have Mr. Alarcon's motion. So let's clear the roll.
Because even if we refer it to the committee, we want it to be the positive version, right?
Let's clear the roll. Okay, we've cleared the roll. Mr. Krikorian? Mr. Krikorian?
Point of order, Mr. President.
Hold on. Whoa. Mr. Krikorian, you have the floor.
Thank you. Point of order. I think Mr. Alarcon made the last motion. His motion should be voted on first, should it not?
Mr. Clerk, we do the last one first. Is that, I didn't follow the order because I know there were a number of them came forward.
It appears that many of the motions were repetitive. However, Mr. Weezar made the last motion to refer it back to committee, and then it was Mr. Labange to refer it back to committee, then Mr. Alarcon's motion.
My understanding is that Ms. Perry made a motion earlier in this debate, and it was seconded by Mr. Labange.
Correct.
All I said in my speech was, if I'm going to vote today, given the information we have, I'll vote yes. But I do agree with sending it back to committee if that is the case. So I did not make the motion.
Okay.
Did not make the motion.
You just made
That would bring us back to Mr.
Weezar.
Labange then, who spoke previous to Mr. Weezar.
So Mr. Weezar was making a comment. Okay, so Mr. Alarcon's motion, Mr. Clerk, is that correct? Mr. Alarcon's motion will come up first?
I do believe Mr. Labange made the last motion to refer back to committee, or the last motion.
Yeah.
He seconded Perry's. Mr. Labange seconded.
He did that, but then when he spoke for a second time, he again recommended referring it back to committee.
But I don't know if anybody seconded it. Yeah.
Mr. Labange, what was your motion?
Yeah, it was a written report. I gave a copy to Abak, city attorney's opinion, to add to that, if I recall. So that's why it should go back to committee.
Okay, why don't we make it real simple? We have a motion to send it to committee. We have an amending motion by Mr. Alarcon on the language of Mr. Rosendahl's motion. I think that might be an easy...
Ms. Perry.
Okay, so let's vote on Mr. Alarcon, Mr. Clerk, Mr. Alarcon's motion. Let's vote on that first. Okay. So, Mr. Clerk, you clarify that for everyone? And Mr. Koretz rises to state something.
So with this one motion, put the more positive language in and refer it back to committee? So the people that don't want to see it referred back to committee should not be voting for this motion.
You should vote no on it then.
Correct.
So Mr. Clerk, for clarification for everyone, one more time, what we're going to vote on right now.
This vote would be to refer this matter back to the Rules and Elections Committee, as well as to amend the language to a much more positive point of view, or perspective rather.
All right, do we have any other motions after this one? Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the motion be amended, striking the language in the third paragraph that reads, "The city attorney's interpretation is startling," and beginning the next sentence with the word "some," and then follow at the end of that paragraph, including the following sentence: "It has been the practice of this council to adhere to the Brown Act in the operation of its ad hoc committees."
Mr. Rosendahl seconds.
That's the positive
So
one.
that's the one that will take the floor now.
No, that is my motion.
That's a new
It's
motion.
the last motion made.
That's the new motion by Mr. Krikorian. For clarification, Ms. Perry, wait, Ms. Hahn needs to leave, and I know we're going to belabor this point. Can we just, so Mr. Krikorian's motion, Mr. Clerk, cite that for the colleagues, and then we'll vote.
It was after you called for the question to articulate that, so I would rule a little stronger from the chair.
Thank you, Mr.
You do
Labange,
that
for your
too with the
comments.
motorcycle.
Your confusion only makes it more confusing. So, Mr. Clerk,
Yes, sir.
what are we voting on now?
Technically, sir, I don't believe anybody called for the question. Therefore, I believe Mr. Krikorian's
Hold on, Mr. Alarcon has the button pushed. Mr. Alarcon, then Ms. Perry. Mr. Alarcon,
I defer to
Ms. Perry.
Madam Perry.
Engaged in the process of voting, you had already opened the roll.
And then we didn't stop it. So let's go back to where we are, since more discussion and more motions have surfaced. And what we want to do is clarify, vote, and then move this item one way or another. So, Mr. Clerk, to clear any confusion, what are we going to vote on right now?
You know, I believe Mr. Krikorian and Ms. Perry are both correct in their assertions.
All right. So why don't we vote on Ms. Perry's motion, and then we'll determine what happens with that, and then we'll vote on Mr. Krikorian's motion?
The rule book, it states, once you complete it and have a vote, then that's the issue was closed.
We don't have a vote, Mr. Labange.
We did have a vote. We opened the roll.
We did not take the vote. We did not close the roll. We did not take that vote. So it's still pending, Mr. Labange. Mr. City Attorney, can you clarify so we can move this?
Just for the record, it is the call of the chair, subject to overrule by the body. So it's your call, Mr. President.
All right, so my call is to let's vote. We're going to vote for Ms. Perry's motion as amended by Mr. Alarcon, which sending it back to committee. All right, colleagues? And Ms. Krikorian, I guess your motion came in too late, according to the rules. So open the roll.
Ruling of the chair.
All right. It's discretionary. At any rate, colleagues, we're going to vote. Okay, so let's take that vote. Mr. Clerk, so this vote will be, Mr. Clerk,
this vote would be to override your ruling, or interpretation rather, to take the Perry motion.
okay, so Mr. Krikorian calls for a yes vote on overruling the chair. So let's open the roll. Let's close the roll. Let's tabulate the vote.
4 ayes, 8 noes.
All right. So we move forward with the vote on Ms. Perry's motion. On that, colleagues, open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
9 ayes, 3 noes.
The matter passes. So the language modified and sent to committee. That matter is done.
So
Thank you.
that will be sent to committee as amended.
Thank you. Next item, please.